Let's see if anyone else joined in the chat. Okay. All right, so if you are cooking live, I recommend slicing up some onions now. Also, if you're cooking live, rice. I've already steamed some rice in advance. So if you are, you might want to steam some rice to go with this. It's curry rice after all. I have a video, I think, linked in the description. You can open it in another tab or something if you want to check out how to make it on the stovetop. It's basically about 2 cups of rice to 2.2 cups of water to make on the stovetop. You bring that to a boil, cover it, lower the heat, and then cook for 20 minutes. Or if you have a rice cooker, that's fine too. Either way, it'll work. All right. Okay, so I'll just slice these in half. So instead of like we're not going to do a dice or anything like that. We will just basically slice them. Clean off my board. Slice off the stem ends. Usually, I mean, when you're making a curry, you can really like cook the onions down like as much as you like. Really, like that's a lot of households will just like really cook them until caramelized, and that gives the curry such deep, rich flavor. So here we are. Just slice it as thinly as you can. And actually, we don't even need the root end, so cut off the root end too, and just cut into slices like that. I need to cut off the root end a little further. Okay. All right, and then you should break them up into slices like these. And okay. So we have our onions, half of an onion cut. One onion should be fine for the amount we're making. I think in my previous recipe in the pressure cooker, I might have gone for 2. But you know, see how it goes for you. I think 1 should be plenty. For everyone watching in the chat, how do you make your curry? What's your go-to curry at home? I think it's really great in Japan that it's every household has their own version of it. Every household has a way of making it. So I think it's really cool. And yeah, you might not expect curry being a Japanese food, but yeah, it's really popular one. It's a little different from, like, I would say more spicier curries or more like Indian curries. Many say it's a lot sweeter, which I guess is the case. I mean, this is a dish that a lot of kids love too in Japan. Sometimes they even make it deliberately sweet. They'll add like honey or even a grated apple, and it gives it a nice sweetness and depth. All right, and there we have our onions sliced. And excuse me as I'm tearing up a bit. I actually never used to tear up while cutting onions, and then got laser eye surgery, and then I found out it was the contacts that were that were protecting my eyes from tearing up. So now I'm crying a little bit. Okay, next, the carrots. So the carrots, very simply, we will cut off the ends and peel. And these we're gonna cut into like a dangiri shape, so we have a little kind of different sizes, kind of some nice random chunks, because that's what dangiri means, kind of random cuts. But they're still about a similar size, so they still cook even. They just have a nice, some nice varied pieces, shapes. Oh, that onion really got to me. All right, so I have 2 carrots here. Okay. And to do a dangiri, excuse me. All right, to do a dangiri, we will take the carrot like this, cut at an angle, roll, and then just keep cutting at an angle like this until you run out of carrot. So we'll keep going down the carrot like this. And it depends on how big that you like your carrots too. So they do soften up quite a bit in the stew, and we'll get very soft. There are other ways to do this. There's another like yu suji curry that I've been making, which is beef tendons. It's really good, but in that version, you're more likely to dice the onion and dice the carrot and saute them together, and then the carrot brings a really nice sweetness to the dish. And there we have our dangiri for the carrots. Kind of a bunch of random shapes, but still about a similar size. Really like this cut in a lot of Japanese dishes, including like nimono dishes, simmer dishes, which recently, this past week, I posted a nimono dish of a sweet potato and chicken dish, which also had carrot in it, I think. All right, and the potatoes. Yeah, sorry. So it's a lot of it's a lot of cutting vegetables up at first, but this is pretty much all the vegetables we need to cut, and then we'll get our stew going. All right, so we'll just peel some potatoes and get going. Potatoes, you could cut into chunks about the same size as the carrot, but depending on what kind of potatoes you get, they might get a little too soft for the they might get a little too soft and break apart. So it depends really on what kind of potatoes you have. So instead of cutting them too small, I'll just cut them in some big chunks, and like really just like in half or quarters, and then stew them that way, so they become nice and fluffy but still hold their shape. Because I find Japanese potatoes will pretty much disintegrate in the curry. It's a ongoing struggle I've had with the potatoes. Oh, okay. Let's see. All right. I have a question from the chat. Okay. All right. I have a great question from the chat. Do you have to peel the potatoes if you like the skin? And it depends on what kind of potato you like, but sure, you can leave them on if you wish. In Japanese potatoes, I think you want that really soft and fluffiness, so it's really nice having them in the curry peeled, but it's up to you. But thanks for the question. Okay, so we'll just continue peeling the potatoes. So it does take a little while, so I guess if you're looking for a shortcut and want to leave the skin on, I guess that's fine too. I've never seen it like that in Japan. All right, so we'll just be peeling potatoes for just a minute or so here. So if you have any other questions in the chat, feel free to chime in at any time and have your comment or question featured on the screen. All right, so get back to the close-up shot. You can see what I'm doing over here. So, and I'll show you the meat. So the order that we will do this after we have our potatoes ready, and we'll also chop a little garlic here, is that we will brown the meat once and then saute the onions in that. I mean, you could do this at the same time, just it's nice to have everything, like if you were browning the meat and then sauteing the onions, but it's kind of nice to have everything ready, you know, just to be all ready at once. Once you start cooking, you don't have to be scrambling back and forth. So we'll just, after this potato, I'll show you how to cut it, and then we have some garlic, and that's it. Also, if you do have some ginger, ginger works really well here too. I know I didn't put it on the ingredients list, but garlic and ginger work wonderfully together, especially in a curry base. So if you'd like to add some chopped ginger with your chopped garlic, diced garlic, that works well too. Rid of these peels. Right. And these, if there's any dirt or anything like that on them, I'll just give them a quick rinse to make sure these are looking as good as they can be. Okay. So these, I'll cut these in about quarters. So I'll just cut in half. Get rid of that, we don't need that anymore. Cut these in half and then just in half again, so for some nice big chunks. Again, these are up to you. Personally, I like them. Nice big chunks of potato in the curry. So yeah, like if you want them smaller, and if you have a potato that will stand up to stewing, then definitely you can cut them a little smaller into cubes or something like that. I find just this method works a little better with these style of potatoes, but that's also up to you. So there we have our potatoes cut and ready to go. Only thing left we need to cut is the garlic, and then we'll put it all together and simmer. Get these out of the way. Okay, and I'll wipe down the board because it's quite quite wet now. All right. Okay. And just a few cloves of garlic. You don't need to overdo it. Maybe 3 or 4 is totally fine. All right, and you can give these a smash, peel them. Okay. And then just give them a quick cut. Get a little bowl or diced garlic to land in. Cut off the ends. And then we'll give those a dice. And these two, even though they're much smaller than an onion, I like to do these similar to how dicing an onion. It's coming horizontally, then vertically. So we can mince them very finely. We'll do that again here, vertically. And then we will go through and just give that a fine mince, just like that. All right, and that's it. That's all you need to do. If you are using ginger, then you can do the same thing with ginger, and that'll be really nice. Bring a nice warmth to it. But I think for this live stream, I'm showing you enough cutting. We need to get cooking, so I'll leave ginger out this time. Take your minced garlic and set it aside. All right, and there's our minced garlic. Let's put this aside for now. And give the counter a quick wipe. And there we are, our vegetables and garlic, and we also have some bay leaves standing by. All right, so that's a lot of the prep that you'll need to do. The other thing is, of course, the meat, and as I hinted before, I have some pork. Thinly sliced pieces of pork. Again, I mean, it's just so convenient, and you can make so many dishes with it. If you have larger pieces of pork, just cube them up. You can always dust them in a little flour, and that gives it a nice crust. Chicken, if you're using chicken, just also cube it up into like bite-sized pieces. That'll work out really well. Okay. To prepare that, I do like to give it a little flavor first before we saute it. So I think I'll be using about most of this, but not all of it. So I'll just get out a little bowl and season it briefly. Okay. Go back. Close-up shot. Right, 1 second. Okay. Here we are. Okay. So in a bowl, if your meat is already cut, then please, of course, or if your meat isn't cut, rather, make sure that you cut it into bite-sized pieces. If you like last time, I used some pork shoulder, so I cut the pork shoulder into nice chunks. But I found that making it with thin slices of pork belly is really nice too. So wrap that in a second. So here we have our pork belly in the bowl. We'll just season that with a little salt, pepper, and to get that curry flavor going, we'll also sprinkle in a little curry powder now. So salt, pepper, then this style of curry powder. Just about a teaspoon or so, just to get a little color, a little flavor on it. If you're using the curry powder, you definitely want to develop that flavor early. So that's why we have added it here on the meat. Once you cook the curry powder, you really get the flavor is activated from the curry powder with the heat. So it might taste a little raw if you're just adding it in later on. So we want to add it as early as possible for this. I'm using two different styles of curry. I'm going to use this curry powder just to coat the meat and get that flavor going, and then later on to thicken the curry itself, I'm going to use the flakes. So we'll do that with the meat, and again, whatever meat you're using, pork, chicken, beef, it's good to prepare and season before cooking it like this. If you do have bigger chunks, like these are thin, these will cook really quickly, they'll brown nicely, get a nice crust on them. If you have bigger chunks of pork or chicken or even beef like what you're stewing with, do this, but also sprinkle in a little flour right here too to make sure that it's nice and coated. All right, but with that, let's go over to our stove. Just have a big pot here with high sides. You can use whatever kind of pot you have, as long as it's something you would cook a stew in. A Dutch oven would be nice too. So we'll turn on the heat and heat up our stove. All right. While that heats up, I have a great question about not having the flakes. Back over. So I got a great question about Susie asked, can we use cornstarch if we don't have flakes for thickening? And yes, that's a great question. So yeah, you can. You can make a slurry at the end to thicken it like you would a stew. So yeah, great question. And yeah, that'll work. So our stove, our pot is heated up. You can add a little olive oil or vegetable oil. It doesn't really matter with this. I'm going to go for olive oil here, and what we'll do is just brown in batches. I'm going to turn on the fan. I hope that doesn't affect the sound too much. So olive oil is shimmering a little bit, and we'll just brown in batches. So what we'll do first is we'll brown the meat, and once the meat is brown, then we'll add in all the vegetables and water. So we will be browning and removing once, so yeah, don't get too comfortable with the meat in there. And if you're using big chunks, you don't have to cook the chunks all the way through at this point, because they'll be going back into the stew to cook through later. So this is just for some color. And so you can add them like this. Probably should have brought the pork back to room temperature first, but that's all right. It already smells incredibly like curry in here, so it's already very smells very good. I know curry it's just one of the popular thing that a lot of people like to come and try here. Like cocoa curry is very popular here in Japan, as well as go-go curry I really like too. It's a good student dish too. Students like to have curry because it's cheap, easy, and quick. You can eat it with a spoon, so you can read or study while you're eating it. All right, so here we are browning our meat. It is smelling amazing. All right. So let's let that brown just briefly. And let me also have to announce on Instagram that I'm live. I gotta send a reminder real quick as we're browning the meat. Make sure people know we have a curry going. How's everyone doing in the chat? Are you at this step yet? Okay. So we can let that go, let that brown a little bit. Okay, as I post that to my Instagram, hopefully people know that we're live right now. So we're getting some nice color on that. It's browning nicely. And that is smelling amazing. So we're almost there. We're almost about to pull. We'll take out the meat and set it aside in a bowl, and then brown the onions next. So let me get a bowl for that. And again, if you're using like stewing meat, chunks of pork or chunks of beef, chicken, it might not be cooked all the way through, but at this stage, it's no problem. We're just browning it a little on the outside first. So here we are with our meat, and we will just set it aside in a bowl, and then put the onions in. So in any of that fat that's left behind, any brown bits of meat, like if you're using a non-stick pan, this is a great chance to get all that flavor with the onions off of the bottom of the pan. So let's toss in the onions first and let those really just brown away. Whoops, I have a jumping potato over here. So we'll add in just the sliced onions at the moment, and we'll let those brown almost to the point of being caramelized. So that's about all of the onions. We'll save the rest of the vegetables for just a bit. Okay, and give that a little stir and make sure it's not too hot. I'm on a medium-low right now. And have that going like this. There we are. And just let that stew down just a bit. And the next step will be the garlic. We're just gonna add the garlic just a bit. So we'll be adding the garlic next, and ginger if you have it. I don't want to add it too soon because the garlic will burn quicker than the onions. So that'll bring the fragrance, and once that's ready, we'll throw everything in and stew it a bit. All right, has anyone new joined in the chat? I would love it if you say hi and let me know if you're cooking or just watching along, or we'll make it later. Is this your first time making curry? Is it your first time making Japanese curry? Because I know there are a lot of different types of curry, so this was really the first one that I both had and made, I think. So this is like the easiest version, I would say, if you're just getting started with curry. It's a little bit foolproof, so you'll make a good curry no matter what you have. And it goes really well with a lot of different ingredients too, so if you have like mushrooms, for instance, mushrooms go great in that. If you have like eggplant or zucchini and you want to make a really rich curry with vegetables, it's a perfect dish for that as well. Oops. All right. We'll just give these a stir. They are starting to brown a bit. You can see they're getting a little dark. That's not bad at all. That'll be some flavor. There we go. That's looking really great. We'll just cook that for another couple minutes and let that soften some more. If you are doing it in a pressure cooker, at this step, they don't need to be as soft as we're going today, because in a pressure cooker, when you pressure cook onions, they really become they disintegrate really nicely, give a lot of flavor. So pressure cooker is a great method if you're short on time, so it really speeds up the process. So if you do have a pressure cooker, I recommend giving that a try. Okay, just wrap the remaining meat and save it for something else in the meantime. And come back and give this a stir. Okay, these are getting pretty soft. They're getting brown, so pretty soon we will add in our garlic. All right, that is looking great, and it's smelling great too. So that's what's great about these onions. They'll bring such a great depth to the curry itself. So those are looking really great. All right, I think at about this point, we will add in the garlic. So we'll just toss that in. Also, if you're using just curry powder, after the garlic softens a bit, I would add maybe a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half or so of curry powder in. Not the curry roux yet if you're using curry roux, because we don't need to add it so soon at this point. So, but curry powder, like I mentioned before, we want to make sure that it develops some nice flavor with some direct heat in in the pan, and that'll cook everything else. So if you are using powder, I recommend adding it now. And it should be smelling amazing. So if you're cooking right now and you're getting a lot of rich onion, garlic, curry fragrance, that's what we want at this point. Make sure if it is a little dry, like for the garlic, you don't want it to burn too quickly, you can always add in a little extra oil. Make sure they're not burning. You want some good fragrance. I mean, it is really smelling amazing in here right now. I wish you could smell it, or maybe you are. Maybe if you are cooking it now too, you should smell it too. Hey. So there we are. It's getting a nice dark color, and you don't have to worry about taking the onions too far. We want to make sure they're as soft as possible in the curry. So we want them almost breaking down once we actually stew it with everything else. But this is looking really great right here. Hey. All right, so we're almost ready to put everything into our curry. The other ingredients that you'll need are, of course, some water. So I think I wrote about, let's see, what did I write in the... I wrote about 4 cups. Okay, and as I discovered recently, a metric cup and a US cup are slightly different. So the easiest way to figure it out for this is once we put in all of the vegetables and all of the meat, we will just cover everything. We just want to make sure everything is covered. Once it is, that will be enough for our curry to stew. So yeah, really think of this as a stew. The big difference is that we have those great spices towards the end with the curry roux. So I just have some water here ready, and I think we will put in our vegetables now. Okay, so we have our potatoes, carrots, straight in. And I'll trade my tongs for a nice big wooden spoon and just make sure everything is well mixed and even in there. Toss in the meat. And get that in as well mixed as possible. All right. And that is looking fantastic already, and it doesn't even have any water or curry roux in it yet, but I mean, it's looking really great. One other thing that I'm going to do at this step, and I didn't put it in the description, but you can always deglaze at this point too before adding in the water. So I'm just going to use a little sake. So if you have it from a previous recipe, we can just use about a tablespoon or so to just kind of deglaze the bottom and help get those flavors released. So we'll just add just a little bit, like you would like a cooking wine. So if this was a stew, at this point you might add a little white wine or red wine. Yeah, just to start bringing those flavors all together. All right, so we have that in. We'll also toss in a couple of bay leaves. Give me a dish to set my wooden spoon on, and then tomato paste. Essential for these stews like this. Grab some tomato paste. So in Japan, they already come kind of like this, already portioned out, and so they're very convenient for stews like this because you can just kind of squeeze out what you need, and you don't have to waste. Like if you open up a big can, you have to refrigerate it, and it doesn't usually last too long. If you do open up a can, you can always freeze it. So when I was doing my food truck, I would get these big cans of tomato paste, and I used a lot of it when I was making the chilies. So I would have in the refrigerator what I needed for the week, but then separate out portions and freeze it, because it also freezes very well too. But these, since they're perfectly portioned, don't have to worry about refrigerating the rest. But if you have a can, you might want to freeze it if you're not going to use it right away. It's also good in sauces, of course, tomato sauces. I have my version of spaghetti Napolitan. Japanese spaghetti usually uses ketchup. I make mine with tomato paste instead. So let's add in a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. I got a question. Did you boil the water first? No, you don't need to boil the water. Right now it's room temperature. I haven't added it yet, but you will bring it to a simmer once we add it in. Okay, so we have our tomato paste in. And now we will bring in our water. Let's cover that, just barely covering it. So I need a little bit more, but I'll just cover like that. And let's kind of mix it in together. Make sure everything's as covered as well as possible. Another question of where do you add in the curry again? So if you're using curry powder, it's a good idea to saute it in with the onions and garlic before you add the other vegetables. But if you've already gotten to this step, yeah, you might want to add it in now. So it's just about getting out the raw spice flavor before adding it in, because you might notice it's not gonna be as alive. Really, you want to make sure that you're sauteing, really activating those spices on direct heat. So traditional, more Indian curries will actually just toast the spices right on a dry surface of a frying pan or a pot. So you want to make sure that those oils are all activated and you're getting the best fragrance from your curry powder as much as possible. You don't need to do it with Japanese curry if you do have the blocks, but just if you're making Japanese curry with powder, it's a good step to do. So we have that mixed together. We'll cover that and let that simmer for a little bit, 15 to 20 minutes. And while that's simmer, I can return to the chat. And all right, we have a few new people joining in, so thank you so much, and I appreciate the questions. So just to cover again, when do you add in the curry? If you're using curry powder, so for anyone coming new, I mentioned there are a couple ways of doing this. There's the curry powder version where it's a blend of spices but no thickening agent in that spice itself. What I like to use is curry flakes. So curry flakes have both the spice in it but also a thickening agent in it. So at the end, we'll add this to really thicken it and make a nice velvety consistency, nice stew-like texture. Or much more common too, even in the US, I think you can find this at some major supermarkets, is like the golden curry, these curry roux blocks that also have a thickening agent in it. So either way, if you're using curry powder, you're going to want to make sure you get this in early. If you're using a roux like this, you can wait till the end. And in fact, like if you're looking at the directions on the back of here, they just have, you know, boiling the vegetables until about that stage when they're all soft, throwing in the curry roux, mixing it together. It's super simple. That's why if you're just getting started with curry, it's really kind of a no-fail method. And then once you get used to Japanese curry, you can explore some other ones. All right, and another comment. So do you have a tutorial in Japanese sweet potatoes, which I love. Well, thank you so much. Yes, Japanese sweet potatoes are awesome. So recently, in the past couple weeks, I have posted a nimono dish, which is a simmered dish with chicken, mushrooms, and carrots with the same kind of cut that we used for this curry dish. I just posted a short version of that, but it comes from a longer version where I have a video with 3 different ways of making sweet potatoes. One is a steamed rice dish. So you can actually make a takikomi gohan with cubes of sweet potato in it, and it just makes the rice nice and sweet, and really the potatoes become so fluffy and delicious. Nimono is great, the simmer dish, great side dish if you have a bigger portion of main. And then daigaku imo, which is the fried and candied snack. I also posted a short of that too, so definitely please check those out. And if you are making curry and you want to throw some sweet potatoes in, that's a perfect choice. It's a great way to like sweeten up the curry naturally. As I mentioned before, sometimes these Japanese curries are a little sweeter than the Southeast Asian curries that you might expect. And sometimes they add honey, sometimes they add grated apple, which is not bad. It really is good. But a sweet potato might be really nice too. But I hope you do check out those recipes. Thank you so much. And Kyo says, evening, it's 3 a.m. here again, just passing by to say hello and good luck with the stream and good night, everyone. Well, Kyo, thank you very much for joining again at 3 a.m. I really appreciate that. So I hope you give this a try. Check out the recorded version later, and I hope you make some Japanese curry. I might have to adjust the time. So this is a good learning for me too, and seeing when everyone's available. There's going to be a time change in the US, so maybe I might start doing these next month in the evening Japan time, morning US time, and then that way our friends in Europe can also join in midday and don't have to stay up till 3 a.m. But I do appreciate you being here and just saying hello, so thank you so much. Okay, and if I have someone cooking live who I fell behind because I cut the meat. You add the carrots and potatoes in with the onions with no water. Okay, so if you are cutting the meat, you brown the meat and take it out. Saute the, so just to recap all the steps that we've done so far, brown the meat, take it out. In the fond that's left over in the pot, we're gonna brown the meat. Sorry, we already did that. We are going to add in the onions, saute them until browned. And once they are soft, you can add in the curry powder and the garlic. Let that become really fragrant, and then you can add in the potatoes and carrots without water first. Just give it a stir, then add in your tomato paste, bay leaves, and meat, water. Cover it all up. But you really can't go wrong with this dish. Like I was just showing the back of the Japanese package. It just shows throw everything together, cover it with water, and simmer it, and then at the end throw in the roux. So you know, don't overthink it. Just you know, see how it goes. Just think stew. Just think what's the best way to stew all these together. Okay, now I'll go back to our bubbling curry. I'll give this a good stir briefly and then cover. And then cover that and we'll let that simmer. Okay, so I'll get my lid out and just cover that up. Oops, sorry about the bang and crash. Okay, so there we are, and we'll let that simmer for just a little bit. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them in, and I'd be happy to talk curry or whatever else you'd like to talk about. So, all right. And for anyone else just joining in, I do recommend in advance preparing some steamed rice. Let's see, I think, see if I have something available I can show you real quick. I think I have it linked in the description, but I have a quick way to make rice on the stovetop if you don't have a rice cooker. So let me see if I can pull that up real quick as we're waiting, so you can have a really quick and easy method of making Japanese steamed rice. Because for years before I moved in with my fiance here, I did not have a rice cooker. I mean, kitchen space in Japan is quite limited, so I just was happy making it on the stovetop for many years. So let's see though. I posted a short of that, and udon recipe. All right, here we go. Let me see. I've never shared a video like this, so let's see if this goes well. I might try to mute the sound so I don't have the competition going in, but it'll be a good, really refresher in visual form while we're waiting for our curry to cook. And just okay. Here we are. So this is posted on YouTube. I do have it available for your reference linked in the description, but just in case, let's see. I'm not sure if this will have audio, so testing this out live first time. Let's see how this. Or maybe not. Anyway, I do have a rice video for you if you. All right, so I guess I'll just narrate it then. I was hoping I could show it in you, show the video right here and explain it. But if you are making rice on the stovetop, 2 cups of rice to 2.2 cups of water, bring it to a simmer, cover it, and simmer for 20 minutes if you are making rice on the stovetop. If you have a rice cooker, definitely use the rice cooker. I already made some in advance. Okay, another question. Did you add the meat in after the water and some flour? meat in before the water, but again, you can do it at the same time. It doesn't really matter as long as you're stewing it. The flour, we can wait till the end. So if you are using the curry powder and it's not, and you don't have the thickener like the curry flakes or curry blocks, we can wait for the flour and starch towards the end. All right, so have some. Here we are with our curry simmering on the stovetop if you're just joining. So far to recap, we have browned some meat, we seasoned it with a little salt, pepper, and a bit of curry powder just to get that curry flavor going. And then removed it once, sauteed the onions, and then garlic, potatoes, and carrots, and then simmered that with some tomato paste, some bay leaves, and water to cover, and of course put the meat back in. And we're just letting that simmer until the carrots and potatoes soften up. So we'll just keep that covered and let that soften up about 15 to 20 minutes. Let's okay, let's see. I can share with you, just bringing it in here. We will. All right. Okay, I'm not sure if there's going to be audio on here, but if there is, yeah. Let's turn down the audio. Okay. So here we are. Here is the, it's moving a little slow, but I have here my rice video, how to make rice without a rice cooker. It is a little moving a little slow. All right, so I guess we'll give up on that idea. But it's basically, you can check that out in the description and see how to make that. I tried anyway. We'll have to figure out a better way of sharing videos on live stream, and so sharing some things like that. If any other questions have come in, any other comments. So for anyone watching, have you ever made a curry before? What's your favorite type? Have you ever made a Japanese style curry before? Let me know. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have about making this dish at home. This is one of the first dishes that I got to experience making at home. I received a bunch of like I think leftover ingredients from some culture festival we did at my university. So I came home and tried it and stewed it all together, and it came out very good. The big thing about this one, and that I didn't know because I was making it by myself after the fact, was that you don't actually eat this with chopsticks, and many of you might think, well, of course not. But I didn't know that at the time. I was very new to curry. I'd never had a curry before. I never really had Japanese cuisine before. And so I thought, oh, it's Japanese cuisine, you must use chopsticks to eat it. And it's very difficult to eat curry with chopsticks. I don't recommend it. So this is a dish that you eat with a spoon. It's you eat it with a spoon just like a stew. So yeah, just my experience there. All right, here we have Ma Bao. Welcome back. Thank you for joining in again. It says Japanese style beef curry using curry cubes. Awesome. Yeah, the beef curry is so good. That is great. I think I want to do. I think one of the next curries I'd like to make on this channel is beef tendons. They're really great. They have a great texture when simmered down, and that we'll use a pressure cooker for again. So I am quite partial to using pressure cookers for curries just because they speed up the process a bit. But if you are able to get like beef tendons and are able to make them into a curry, they become just so soft and have a nice chew to them. I think that one I'll probably do with some daikon, because you can put some daikon in a curry as well and it becomes really nice and soft and flavorful. So yeah, beef is really great in curries as well. Thank you very much, Mabao, for joining in again. I really appreciate that. And here we are with our curry again. We can take a look, and things are softening up quite nicely. The red color is mostly coming from the tomato paste. Oops, sorry about that. About the loud noise. So again, yeah, you might look at these and say, wow, those potatoes are huge. They are. They are. It's a constant balance and struggle that I have with getting the perfect fluffy potatoes in a curry. I want to make sure that they don't disintegrate and still hold their shape. So, but they'll still take a little longer to cook like that. You can pierce them with a toothpick or a skewer or something to see when they're done. Yeah, I do like them quite big like that. All right. Great question. All right, another question. Can you make it in a crock pot? And sure, I think you could. I haven't done that before. I don't have a crock pot. But yeah, I mean, just it's the same principle as making a stew. So whatever you would do for a stew. I'm not sure how it would go adding in, if you're doing it with a curry roux, maybe you'd want to wait till the end to flavor it, but if you're using curry powder, sure, definitely throw in the curry powder early on, make it in a crock pot, let it simmer at low and slow for a couple hours or however long it takes, and yeah, I'm sure that would be great and a great way to serve it too. So it'll be hot and ready to go. Great way. All right, great question. All right. So I think it'll be about another 5 to 10 minutes now. So once those vegetables are softened, we'll throw in the flakes and then thicken it up. I guess it's also a good time to talk about toppings too. So you can just serve this. We'll serve this rice on one side of the plate, the curry on top. But if you are able to make like a tonkatsu too, you can throw this on and make a katsu kare, which is very popular. And it's I mentioned this last weekend on my Instagram, but katsu also, I mean, it's comes from the katakana word for katsuretsu, cutlets, but katsu also means win in Japan. So if you have a test or a competition or something that you want a little extra luck for and want to win, usually you'll eat katsu the day before or maybe the lunch before. So if you're before a test and you want to that extra little push with luck, have a katsu kare. That's what I did before Japanese test I took recently. The night before, I made a curry and some katsu and had that there. So last weekend, my fiance had a test. I made her katsu plate. So katsu is great if you have some cutlets to put on a curry like that. You can also top this with whatever you like. I made a tofu hambagu recipe, tofu hamburg steak. You can tofu hamburg on top, or just hamburg steak on top of curry is really great too. You really can't go wrong with curry. I mean, the flavors go with everything. So, well, don't quote me on everything, you know, I don't know. Don't get too crazy with it, but you can go, it goes really well with a lot of things. You can get this if you go to like some curry places here in Japan. You can get extra toppings of like little wiener sausages or ebi, fried shrimp, and things like that. Might come with a cabbage salad and some pickles. So this is really, you know, you can modify this how you like and really make it your own. And that's why I wanted to feature it here early on one of these live streams because I want to show you the versatility of it and how you can really make it your own too. So seafood curries also work too. If you don't eat meat, but you're a pescatarian, you like some seafood, you can throw some shrimp in here, and maybe what else you can probably do some like squid and shrimp that they might stew. Yeah, have fun with it and see how it works for you. All right, and Mabao says it must be that tomato paste giving it that robust reddish hue. Yes, it is indeed. I did have a little curry powder in there that I sauteed some of the onions in, so we're getting a little color maybe from the turmeric in the curry powder there to brighten up those colors too. And a follow-up question: never had tomato paste in curry. I wonder how it will taste. It it gives that just a rich depth and sweetness to it, and it just helps thicken the curry into a nice, really velvety consistency. So just like putting it in sauces, like the difference between just making a tomato sauce with just canned tomatoes or using canned tomatoes plus a little tomato paste, you get a much thicker, very smooth consistency of the sauce. And I find it really works well in curries like this to just help bring it all together and keep that nice, juicy, and tender too. So yeah, I recommend trying it. And if you're making the beef curry with the curry cubes, try putting in a little tomato paste early on and see how that goes, and just see if it really brings it together. But the taste, I mean, you won't notice like the tomato taste so much. Like, oh, it's not going to taste like a tomato sauce if you're worried about that. Just like in a chicken tikka masala is usually after sauteing garlic and onion and ginger and some cilantro stems. I usually add in like a can of tomatoes, and you cook those tomatoes down until they give up their oils and their juices, and you don't really taste tomato at the end, but it just really just gives a rich depth of flavor. So it's really great curries. All right, I think we're almost there. Hopefully we're getting close, and we'll skewer the potatoes to see, because those are the ones that'll tell us if we're getting close. If you are doing this in a pressure cooker, as I've spoken about my constant struggle of balancing the perfect fluffy potatoes with the perfectly consistency of the curry. When I'm doing this in a pressure cooker, I usually leave out the potatoes at this stage and we'll add them in later. steam them later. I've been doing that, so I have some perfect consistency, but that's my own research and struggles into how to make the perfect curry. So let's take a look here again. And that is looking and smelling amazing. So potatoes are getting a little soft right now. I don't want to break them up completely. So just when they're giving up their integrity, that's when we are done. So they're hanging on just a little bit. And so are the carrots, so just a little bit longer. Thanks for hanging out with me while we're waiting for the stew to finish. Will do. I'm assuming you're using tomato paste instead of apple. Yes, in this case, definitely, but exactly. You're well versed in the art of Japanese curry making. I had mentioned that earlier. Grating an apple in, usually towards the end, just gives it such a nice sweetness and depth to. Really interesting, really unique, and maybe it's a little hard to imagine for anyone who hasn't done it yet. But yeah, grating an apple into a curry is really great. So I do recommend giving that a chance, giving that a try later on. But yeah, I did not pick up an apple this time, so yeah. But maybe I would probably do both. Tomato paste early and then apple at the ends just to finish it. Right. Okay. Okay, so I think we are getting close. They are soft. So what we'll do is throw in the curry flakes. So I have my curry flakes here, and we'll let that thicken up. And a tip for the curry flakes and curry roux, as I mentioned, I did get a block of curry roux as just as a sample of the different types that you can use. The blocks, I do find that they have a bit of chalky kind of aftertaste sometimes, but to get rid of that, because that's probably that raw flour or that raw starch, give it about 10 minutes. So after we put in this roux, or if you're using a block, or if you're using powder, you might want to prepare your flour and water slurry now to give it time to thicken. So we will add this in and just give it that 10 minutes to simmer together and thicken once more. And I think in that time our potatoes should be ready. Let's see who will win the battle this time of Jeremy versus soft and fluffy potatoes in a curry. Okay, so here we are. You can also at this point remove the bay leaves. We don't need them anymore. And it would not be too pleasant to bite into a bay leaf when you're eating a lovely curry. So just grab one and find the other. Make sure if you're cooking with bay leaves, you remember how many you added in. Try to search for the other one. I think I found it. Nope, that was an onion. Okay, there it is. Here we are, 2 bay leaves. Got our bay leaves out. I think the potatoes are nice and soft now. Perfect. Carrots maybe still have a little bite in it, but we'll have time. So let me get back to this camera here. So here we are with our curry roux. This is a Yokohama brand. Spicy. I mean, it's up to you. usually a lot of the brands will have a mild flavor because this is a dish that kids will eat too. So it's not too spicy, but of course in this household and for our taste, I'm going with the spicy version. And black, some of these curries do come out pretty dark, completely normal. Let's see how dark this one gets. But if you're going for a milder one, it might be a nice mild brownish color. So let's also kind of, let's see how well this shows up on camera, but I can show you what this looks like compared to the blocks. I mean, it looks almost like, yeah, it's pretty dark. So it looks almost like coffee grounds. So I guess this is, I'll just show you what it looks like. You don't have to pour this out in a bowl. This is for the benefit of the live stream. It looks like coffee grounds, but it's basically the same as the roux, just in another form. I really like using these. I find that it comes out really well with this. Okay, so let's get back to our live stream, or our other camera, and toss in our curry roux. I have about half the package in here right now, and that's all I am going to put in at this time and let it thicken. Once, and if you're using a block, maybe you want to put in just 2 of the 4 blocks in a package and see how it thickens up. If you are using curry powder and you need to thicken with a slurry, then I see I just got a question coming in about a slurry. That maybe you would want to use, it's equal parts, it'll be equal parts water and flour, so it's like really thick, like paste almost. So maybe a couple tablespoons of flour and water, or if you're using starch, you can go with like 1 tablespoon of starch to 2 tablespoons of water. Mix that together, slowly add it in, and let that thicken to your desired consistency. You don't want to throw the whole slurry in all at once. Just want to make sure you have a little in. See how it's thickening up. If you like it, you can just finish simmering it like that, or add in a little more if you'd like it thicker. It depends on you. This curry changes based on household, so depending on how you like it in your household, if you like a thicker sauce like this, you can add more slurry, more curry roux in, or if you like it just a little looser, then that's fine too. And another thing to note is that it will thicken once it cools, and it's going to be even better tomorrow. So as good as it might be today, oh yeah, the potato's so soft now it can break apart with just a push of the spoon. So that is great. That's why I like to put them in big right here. But anyway, yeah. So if you are making this for tomorrow, this will taste even better tomorrow. So you might want to go a little less thick right now, because it will thicken up tomorrow. If it's too thick tomorrow when you're reheating it, just add in a little water to loosen it up. But that is looking pretty fantastic right now. So we are almost there. Let's just give it another 5 to 10 minutes to just simmer away and let any of that starch flavor cook out. And then we'll serve it with some rice. Hey. All right, another, I suppose not a Granny Smith. Yeah, that might be a little sour. Yeah, I wish we could get Granny Smith's apples here in Japan. We recently got box of green apples in Furusato Noze, which is a program where you buy some produce or product directly from like local producers or farmers, and you get the money you spend on it goes to your taxes next year. So it's like a little tax benefit. So we spent some money on a big box of aomori apples, because aomori in Japan is famous for apples, and we got a good mix of red apples and a nice sour green apple, which I was really happy about because they're not too common. I haven't seen a Granny Smith apple since coming to Japan, but yeah, that would maybe make a little sour of a curry. But again, it's up to you. If you like that in your curry, that's totally fine. But yeah, let's go with a red one. Might be nice to bring some starch again. So a starch question about how much starch do you add? So it's usually about like a 1 to so you want to mix a couple tablespoons. It's not much. You really don't need much. A couple of tablespoons of water with like a tablespoon or so of starch. Mix that together. It's going to look like a paste, and slowly incorporate that in. Not all at once. I want to make sure it's in a nice liquid form. It can separate. If it separates, you just stir it in again and then drizzle in. And then you keep doing that until it gets, give it time, because it'll take a minute or two to thicken up. And so you don't want to put too much in at once, because it's easy to thicken. It's not as easy to, loosen it up, and I'd have to add water. It's going to take away from the flavor. So yeah, just use some judgment and see how it goes. All right, our curry is almost there, so I'm gonna get out a plate and we will start serving. And thank you so much to all of you who have hung out here on the live stream up until this point. I know is a kind of a long one, making a whole curry from scratch, a lot longer than okonomiyaki that we made a couple weeks ago, and hot pot also is pretty quick, so appreciate you hanging out and listening to my stories about finding the perfect potato for curries, and eating curries with chopsticks, learning the hard way. It's supposed to be eaten with a spoon. So thanks for hanging out. So we will get back to, let's serve. Let me make a little space on the counter here for our curry plate. Okay, let's see. So for the ideal serving vessel, you'll want to have a plate that has a nice side to it. Like a low bowl. This is a perfect curry plate. In fact, I got this for eating bread at Lawson, and it comes with a Miffy character on it. So yes, it's my Miffy curry plate. I've had this for years. Lawson had a convenience store in Japan, has a bunch of programs where if you eat bread, you get little stickers, you collect them, and you get plates and mugs and things. And when I first came to Japan, I went to Lawson a lot. Not so much anymore. I don't think I have one close. So we'll just get some rice in our bowl here. And let's let you take a look at that curry while I go grab some rice. Have it on the counter behind the stove. Oh. Okay. Okay. All right, so I have our rice here. Let's so you want to make it into like half of a plate, kind of like this. So half and half. So half curry, half rice, to do that traditional classic curry rice plate, just like this. And we will bring that over to our pot of curry and grab a ladle. I have 2 ladles here. If you are making curry, go with stainless steel. You will stain plastic if you use plastic. If that's all you have, well, that's all you have. That's just so you know, it might stain plastic, so go with stainless steel instead, so it's easier to wash. It's all those the turmeric in the curry that kind of stain it yellow. Look at that. So this is to my liking right here. So that is looking great. I'll turn off the heat, and that is looking lovely. So grab a little bit of everything. You want to make sure you have some meat, potatoes, carrots all together. So you have some nice, almost like these big chunks of potatoes, like icebergs popping out of the curry. That's how I like it. They're so soft, so it's like having a baked potato in the middle of your curry there. So, and then some nice chunks of carrot for some pops of color here and there. And there we are. That is our Japanese curry plate. You can pour a little more of the sauce over the side so it's overlapping with the rice just a little bit. Let's see. All right. One more potato over here. Okay. All right. And we'll go back to our close-up camera here. And there we have our super easy Japanese curry rice. It does take a little time to simmer, but not too bad. I'll just clean up the edge right there. Sure, it's nice and pretty looking for your guests. This is darker, so like again, the Yokohama brand was called like a black spicy one, so it might look very dark, but that is totally fine. Depends on your curry brands. There we have our curry. Yes, Miffy. Yep, I have a Miffy plate. You can see she's kind of covered up to her ears in curry right now. So, yep, that's it. And Susie says, "This is awesome. I love curry dishes." Yes, good. So there it is. That is our curry rice made live. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you give it a try at home if you are cooking along on the recorded version. Well, thanks so much for making it together with me. I really appreciate that. And for all of those of you that are here watching live, really appreciate that. I'm so happy to be able to make some food with you. Let's give it a taste. I think it's always nice to let you know how it is. And so spoon, again, like I mentioned, this is not a chopsticks dish, as I learned the hard way the first time I made and had this dish. Grab a little curry with a little rice and enjoy. It tastes like your childhood. Even if I didn't grow up with it, it just has that rich, stewy flavor. I think maybe it's become a little nostalgic to me now, just being here so many years and in Japan. But oh, that's exactly what you want. Exactly what you want on a cold day, or really, if you just want a stressful day, want something good and comforting. I mean, curry rice. You can't go wrong with that. Yep, I am happy with that. So thank you very much for hanging out with me on this live stream. I will be I actually have some family coming to Japan next week, so I'll be traveling a bit the next couple of weeks. So I won't have a live stream for you in the next couple of weeks, but I'm thinking in time for Sakura season, I might do some onigiri. So I'm really thinking about what are those classic dishes that I would recommend starting Japanese cuisine with. And we did okonomiyaki, which is just like a party favorite, crowd favorite. Hot pot is great for those weeknight meals. Curry is the ultimate comfort food. And then onigiri is the perfect sandwich of Japan that you can take with you. And since it'll be Sakura season by the time I do the next live stream, I thought let's make some onigiri together. So I'll come up with maybe a couple different flavors, and I'll show you the whole process too. Forming them, filling them, and then taking them with you to go eat on a picnic. So I hope you join me on that one. I think it'll probably be the first weekend in April, but I'll post it on my YouTube page and announce it on my Facebook and Instagram, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this hour and a half long live stream. Really appreciate it. And I hope hope keep doing these. I'll have to figure out a time that will work for the US, Asia, and then maybe Europe. So I'll try to figure out another time with the time difference now, because we have daylight savings and a 13-hour difference coming up in the US soon. So I'll see what works best. But anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for watching. Hope you give it a try at home. And until next time, thanks for watching.